Hey everybody, it's Torrance with Sword Guy Builds. I'm not going to do a lot of preamble. This month we're making a 7-foot 12-plant Bullock whip. It should be very interesting and I'm very stoked, so let's jump in. I'm going to start with a rattan dowel that's about 1.25 inches thick. Generally you see Bullock whips with 5-foot handles, and I feel that's a little long for my taste, so I'm going to cut it to 4.5. The whole length is then sanded smooth and marked for the keeper. I use an angle grinder with a super coarse sanding disc on it to rabbit out a few inches where the keeper will be bound on. The handle is then stained a rich red tone. It'll also get a couple coats of shellac, partly for the look and partly to keep my hands from picking up the oils and discoloring my leather as I braid the grip. Before I do any braiding, the keeper is prepared and bound on as tightly as I can get it. For the grip, I strand out 2 long laces from some natural and red to be cut up into a patterned 16 plait. I really only strand my laces this way for some handle braiding. In most other scenarios, it's much more preferable and a lot of times necessary to use a yoke method like we're going to do for the thong. These 2 strands are wet stretched, resized, and beveled before being cut into several pieces and bound onto the handle. Whenever I do pattern work, I like to start with a preliminary concept and then just improvise a sequence around it. In this case, a slight variation on a pattern I find myself doing a lot that stems from a simple zigzag. After the heel is capped off, I tie a 6-bite pineapple knot and then also cover the other end of the braiding as well as the bottom of my keeper binding with accent knots. Now for the fun part. Stock whips and Bullock whips need to have keepers, obviously, which means stranding to a 2-sided yoke. I cut the core from the one side and the 4-plait from the other. I wet stretch everything and tie it up by the 4-plait to trim down the core, and then tie it up by the core to prep the 4-plait. Both the core and the 4 strands will have to swell to give us the right geometry. Everything is then greased and braided to about 4 feet. I use a piece of PVC tube to open the keeper to the right diameter. Finally, I can prep my overlay. Because of how the strands come off the hide, the outside arc is on the left for half the strands and on the right for the other half. This makes prep work a little tricky, so I need to make sure my hands stay as steady as possible as I navigate the contours of the laces. Everything is then greased and the keepers are seated together for braiding. I love braiding to begin with, but I especially enjoy watching the chevrons form and change subtly as the strands taper and drop out down the length of the thong. Mating keepers is always the most gratifying part for me. This is our first look at the final form of the whip. After many hours of hard work and agonizing over different decisions, the test cracks reveal that I do in fact know what I'm doing. I have once again been made a proud whip dad, knowing that this whip will one day make someone very happy. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Please stay safe and check out swordguybuilds.com, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.